everybody, it's me, Nate, aka Devil Dog, and I'm back with another video. That's right. As you've seen by the thumbnail, you know dang well what this video was about. My Callisto Protocol rant. Yes, before I get started, please keep in mind, okay, in this gaming world that we live in, just because you agree or disagree with somebody on a certain game, because if you either love it or hate it, does that mean you are right? This is strictly just my own opinion of my own personal feelings of this game, and if you are someone out there who bought this game and absolutely loves it, that's fantastic, because let's be honest, in this day and age, if we all like the same damn things, it would be no variety and everything would absolutely suck. Now, this is just, like I said, my opinion of the reasons why I don't like Callisto Protocol. I first of all have to say I actually do think Striking Distance is a decent game development company. They have proven the fact that they do know how to make a decent quality game in terms of the way it's built. I just really feel that they kind of hit a lot of brick walls with this and kind of made some big mistakes. And I even said in my first review of the game that I do hope they make enough money so that maybe Crafton won't cut the cord with them and actually allows them to actually take more time and make a sequel that this game series deserves. I keep going back to comparing this to Days Gone, and I'm still saying that, and the reason why is not because it's the same kind of game, no, but the same thing happened. You have a development studio that works hard to make a game, the new version and first IP in a long-running game series that they hoped for, which takes time to make the game engine, to build the game worlds, to build the characters, and by the time you get done with that, if it's roughly about a 4-year development time, about 1.5 to 2 years of those are actually spent just building this shit, while the 2 years are actually spent getting everything in order. Now, I have a list here of certain things I want to go over that bother me the hell out of Callisto Protocol. And once again, it's strictly my opinion. If you're loving this game, that's perfectly fine. I will not be butthurt over the fact if you like it and you disagree with why I don't. That's fine, because there's lots of games out there you'll probably say you love and I absolutely hate, or vice versa. That's how it's supposed to be. But in this day and age, you have to have the ability to accept the fact of other people having their own choices and opinions and respect those. And that's why, as an old school gamer growing up from the 70s and 80s, I look at the modern day gamers out there and I have to say, y'all make me sick. You're all a bunch of snowflake, little wussy ass motherfuckers that just don't know how to accept other people's opinions. But these are mine for Callisto Protocol. First up is the overall story of this game. Now, like I said, if you would just go by the fact of the game being a new IP, you have to give it a little bit of leeway in terms of issues with it. But you can't sit here and not think, okay, the story is good. It's not a good story. It really isn't. Honestly, it is a damn near beat-by-beat recreation of the same story from Dead Space. Now, yes, I know they keep going and saying this is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, even though if you look up the facts, you realize it was never meant to be at first. It was meant to be an add-on to PUBG. That's why Crafton actually jumped on board to publish this and helped him, make this game. That's right, people, look it up. That's why there's a couple things still in the game, like some locations and some names that are direct tie-ins to PUBG. But the story as they progressed through this, it was up until several years in of development before they finally decided to make its own game out of this. So it was originally supposed to be set in the PUBG universe. And because of that, they kind of backpedaled and did a lot of other things to it. And the story is not that good. It really isn't that good. It's not shown in a good professional way. In the Dead Space, you could actually look at like video logs that would progress the story and let you know what's going on. And this has the same thing, but the way they're done, they're showing things that have happened at the same time of what you're dealing with. In Dead Space, they would have stuff that was like before, and you know, it'll let you build up to kind of figure out the mystery. This one doesn't really do it that way, and it does it poorly. It doesn't let you view them while you're moving on the go, and I have a big issue with the overall plot of this game. Next up, while I know I'm going to say this, Brett Hicks, I'm glad you're enjoying the game. But I don't agree, in my own personal opinion. I think the melee mechanics are actually the worst part of this game. While to me they feel clunky, and the reason why I say this is because even though the animation is nice and everything, it's the same rinse and repeat gameplay. Now, don't get me wrong, every single game is basically rinse and repeat gameplay. Every single game is, but you got to mix it up. And in this game, until you get in the higher levels of upgrading your character, it's the same thing of like from a distance using your weapon to shoot to stun enemies, because they throw a lot of enemies at you. And when they get close, you gotta dodge, hit, dodge, hit. And that's the entire game. Now, at least I can say, if this is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, why couldn't they incorporate things into it that made Dead Space great? Like when you're fighting necromorphs, they would come out of random areas. They do not do this in Callisto Protocol. Everything is scripted, okay? You're not going to have random enemies coming out of like a hole here or a hole there or a hole there. No, it's automatically set in stone where they are. It's highly scripted. While in Dead Space, it had a little bit of variation. Yes, you go in a room and you know you're going to be attacked by necromorphs, but there were different air vents and stuff that they could come out of that would mix it up to make it different. And on top of that, the enemies had the ability to attack you in different ways, to where your weapons would sever their body parts off that would make them be able to move differently. In this, you can still sever body parts, but it doesn't really make it any different of each character. Each of these enemies, all 6 or 7 of them that you fight, they all fundamentally act the same way. One of two ways. One, they either bum rush you once they see you, or 2, sneak attack you. Either way, it's either button mashing if they sneak attack you, or they're bum rushing you. Either try to shoot them to slow them down, and then you get into the melee combat. There is no variation to it. There is no in-depth, there is no in-depth mechanics to it. While it may feel good to actually hit an enemy, to me it felt clunky due to the fact that the sheer repetition of the fact, like, okay, here's an enemy, wait, dodge, hit, shoot, dodge, hit, stomp for the item. If this is a successor to Dead Space, you would think they would add more and not have less in it, which just shows the fact of the development of this game was obviously rushed by Crafton and Striking Distance Studios to get it out before Christmas, and also to get it out before the Dead Space remake in hopes that they could make money. The major fault with that is something I'm going to talk about. But next up has to be, honestly, the level designs. Now, don't get me wrong. The atmospheric tone and the way they look is phenomenal. I even said in my review, if you based the review and you based the feeling of the game off of the atmosphere and the graphics, it'd be a 10 out of a 10. My God, this is a true PS5 game from the ground up, and it shows it within terms of graphics, lighting, sound effects. Put on your headphones in this. I will admit the binaural sounds are fantastic. Hearing voices and the monsters come from all around you is great. It really is. That aspect is magnifique. But if you have a little bit of truffles on a turd sandwich, it doesn't make that sandwich good. And in this case, that's something I have a problem with. The story is bad enough, but the level designs are too linear. There's so many times when you think, okay, here's door A, here's door B, and here's ladder C. Well, if I go through door A, You think, maybe it'll take me to a new area. Very rarely does it. No, normally if you go through door A, it'll take you around to door B. And the door B, you go through there and this area goes down again. Door C, it all links together, but it's not open. It's not open. The level designs are not that well done in this. Honestly. Too much corridors, not enough open areas, and the corridors are confusing as shit. You get lost, you end up backtracking, but that's okay, because you always find a new door that you go through that just takes you back to where you were at in the first place. That really needs some help. Y'all need to work on that, because while the game looks great, oh my god, the level designs are just, total crap. Next up is character development. In this game, there's really only 3 main characters you have to deal with. Now, maybe I should say spoilers, but I'm not going to go into this plot to really ruin it for you, but there's only 3 main characters. And they don't really have enough backstory for you to really give a crap about any of them. And it's not until, I think, chapter 6 or something, where stuff really starts happening, where you actually start seeing a little bit, a plethora, just a little bit of character development and growth. And at that point, you've been through so much of the game, you just don't care. It should have been done better than this. And honestly, even though this is a new game studio, the developer of this game has previous experience with the original Dead Space. Now, don't get me wrong, the original Dead Space, like I keep going back to, was lightning in a bottle. You're never going to be able to capture that quite same feeling as the first Dead Space, and I get that. It's like the Ghostbusters movie, the very first one. But nonetheless, when you have somebody that worked on it, you would think they would know a little bit more about character development. The character development in this sucks until you get near damn near the end of the game. Now, on top of that, I think the biggest flaw with this game is their heavy focus of saying that it was a Dead Space spiritual successor. They should not have done that. They should have just come out and said, the original director of Dead Space has a new nightmare you're going through. Instead of constantly harping back saying this is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, because that's why it got so many bad reviews. As soon as you said that, everybody was expecting Dead Space. Dead Space. This is not Dead Space. It is a different game all by itself. It's a new IP, and it should be embraced as a new IP. But the fact that you kept leaning on the fact that it was from the original guy and it's supposed to be a spiritual successor of Dead Space, everybody was jumping on the Dead Space bandwagon. And because of that, everybody was looking through a certain friggin' lens. And if they didn't see what they wanted to see, they're like, this game sucks. This game sucks. You look at all the reviews. Most of the people that actually got past that realized that the game isn't that bad, but people that were focused on Dead Space are like, this has nothing like Dead Space, it sucks. And that's why a lot of people turned against it. It's the fact that they leaned way too heavy on the fact it was saying it was a spiritual successor, even though it has nothing to do with Dead Space, even though it kind of copies every single damn story thread that Dead Space had with no originality. No originality at all. And because of this, it's such a shame, but the poor reviews of it, even though it's a kind of average game, there's been like 5 out of 5 stars or like 1.5, 2 stars out of 5. The stocks have dropped so bad at crafting and striking, distant studios. Because of that, I'm hearing rumors they're already scrapping a sequel. Which is a shame, because I even said in my review, I really wanted this game to get a sequel. It has so much potential because the game engine is phenomenal. The dude's art direction is top notch. It just needs better character designs, better monster designs, better level designs, and a good original plot. Quit trying to rehash the same lame-ass plot of Dead Space. I mean, really it is. And the other thing was, if you're going to make a game, don't brag about crunch culture. I know there's a big thing about it, and he tried coming out saying, oh, well, I didn't mean. Dude, yes, you did. You clearly said you were promoting crunch culture. You're like, well, we got to crunch the game to get out. And you came back and you said, well, anything else from now, we're going to not make sure it's no crunch culture. We're going to take our time with it. Honestly, if you would have just taken your time with it and maybe not rushed it out and maybe waited until next year to bake it a little bit more, come up with a more interesting story, a different weapons upgrade system, and a decent plot and everything like that, and just take your time and not crunch your workers, maybe the game would have turned out a lot better than what it did. Because in the end, it just turned out as basically kind of a generic run-of-the-mill Dead Space copy. Which is sad to say considering that the pedigree that this guy has. His studio's all new, but still, he brought a lot to the table that should have made things a lot better. But in the end, it actually didn't. I mean, honestly, when you have a game that has an embargo that doesn't lift until like the day before launch, that right there is a major red flag that you're trying to hide shit. Okay, and when you're trying to hide shit, that means the fact that you know, oh crap, we screwed up. There's something wrong with this game. Either that means it's not that good, or it's not as good as people expected. What is the reason for the embargo being that long? Obviously, to cover up and hide the bad reviews because you wanted to sell as many copies before the word got out that, hey, we kind of rode the coattails of, Dead Space, and this is not Dead Space. I really feel that this suffers from multiple issues, including one, it's the first new game in an IP. Two, you tried playing it too much like your spiritual successor to Dead Space when not staying that true to it. Every time I say Dead Space, take a shot of whiskey, you'd be dead 5 minutes in this video. And, other things, I'm not even going to get into the PC version, okay? The PC version, they fixed it as of now with certain patches, but it obviously shows they had rushed this game to get it out on a certain time frame, and I don't think Craftum is giving them enough credit for the hard work and dedication they did put into this title. Plus, with the fact they're going to have a New Game Plus and several other free DLCs coming out the way, along with a expansion pass to add new animations of death, which I might add aren't that many in the game, clearly shows that this game was rushed to get out at a certain time frame. That is the number one big problem right there. They rushed it to get it out before the end of the Christmas season and also before the Dead Space remake comes out. Honestly, they stayed too close to trying to ride off the coattails of friggin' Dead Space by saying it was a spiritual successor, which they should not have. They should have just said, from the creator of Dead Space comes an all-new vision of a new nightmare. It would have been so much better. The mechanics, honestly, are clunky. They're not that well thought out, and they're not deep at all. Honestly, I found Gotham Knights to have a more deeper mechanic of fighting in it than this does. And yes, I know that's a fighting game, but this is supposed to be survival horror. And honestly, just having jump scares every 2.5 seconds doesn't make the game scary. Only having like 6 enemy character models isn't that scary. Having long corridors that lead around in a maze-like fashion is not that good. The weapons are kind of unappealing and bland. The overall plot and story and lack of character development is god-awful. And in the end, I have to say honestly, in my own personal opinion, I think Callisto Protocol, while is nothing like how bad, Cyberpunk was at launch, this is a functioning game. It's just not that good of a game. It's a middle-of-the-ground game. It's not mediocre. It's not great. It's just average, and it's a shame for a new IP because you have to come out of the gate swinging. And in this one, I think they were riding on too much of the coattails of, other games, Dead Space. And Callisto Protocol never really gets to shine. And due to the rush and everything, and the stocks dropping, oh my God, I'm pretty sure Craftum's going to drop this IP, and we'll probably never see a sequel to it, which is a damn shame because it had so much potential. I like the characters. I like what they were going with this, but with the fact that it's just the same run-of-the-mill, boring story, and not even coming up with anything original at all. it bothers me. It just shows some unoriginal aspects, some lack of creativity, and the fact of crunch culture is never good. And I would love to see a sequel to Callisto Protocol, but at this point, I don't think we're ever going to see it. I think it's going to go the way of Days Gone, which is a shame considering the same guy is in it. Maybe he's cursed or something. But please leave in the comments below what you think my personal thoughts on this video. I know it's a bit of a long one, but I had a lot of things I had to say about this game. Is there anything I missed that you want to talk about with Callisto Protocol? Do you agree? Disagree? What do you want to talk about? Leave it in the comments below. Please give me a thumbs up. And remember, here at Devil Dog Gaming, we always end our videos by saying, have fun, play hard, and remember, people, the devil is in the details. Peace out until next time.